let's start with a little bit of introduction. I guess most of the Italian participants of tonight already know Sinistra per Ukraine, but this is just a little reminder. We are a self-organized group of, let's say, wide denomination leftists, which back since the start of the most recent stage of the invasion of Ukraine, found that the voices of Ukrainian and the voices of Ukrainian leftists were absent from the discourse among the Italian left. And so with our social network presence and by organizing these meetings, we basically try to do a little bit about that. Now, then what is going to happen tonight is precisely that. This is meant to be a conversation between us collectively and exponents, members of the Ukrainian activism and social movements. The idea is the idea is to give voice. So this is not going to be an interview. There will be time for questions later. Hi Dennis. Whoever doesn't feel comfortable making question in English or making question in public, just write in the chat. We will keep an eye on them, and then either me or Elena, or Maria Elena, we will report them in English for our guest. Now, a little introduction of our guest. Sorry, just a second. Okay. Tonight we are with members of Solidarity Collective, in particular Alesky. Solidarity Collective is an organization of what's the right term? Grassroots, bottom-up, anarchist organization focused on volunteering, participating to the fight against the Russian invasion, providing for the people that live in the area, in the areas involved in the war, but that's to say all of Ukraine. And then we also have, just a second, Denis Pilash from Sociálny RUKH, social movement, which is a socialist activist organization involved in labor activisms and again organization of mutual help and in general what's the correct term? Well, I guess solidarity, the solidarity of people that have to face an invasion sort of sums up their activities at the moment. But I also think it's better if you introduce yourselves, and I'll let you do that in a second. I will just add what we are, as Italian leftists, our discourse, our mainstream media is always focused on sensationalism, on selling the news. So what the Italian public want to hear is either war porn, almost, or vice versa, hear about struggle. Every other day there is a title about Ukraine being abandoned by either one or one other of its supposed allies. My personal impression, which I know most of people in our collective share, is that this information is useless. So obviously one of the things we are curious about is your take on the present situation of Ukraine in terms of international relationship, American funding, etc. However, however, we also know that that's less important compared to, well, your direct experience and activism, which is independent by the public opinion of European countries. And so we are also happy to know about that. So now, in whichever order you prefer, if you want to tell us a bit more about Socialny, RUKH, and Solidarity Collectives, about what you do, and well, about anything you want to share.
Sorry,
either Oleski or Dennis, whoever prefers to start.
I guess, Alexei, have you spoken just now? Or?
Yeah, I just said that my internet disappeared for a few minutes, so I missed the last few minutes.
You didn't miss too much.
It was the introduction.
Yeah, and I invited either one of you, whoever wants to start, first to share anything you want about the respective organizations. Whatever. So the one topic I introduced was the one that it's somewhat dominant in the Italian discourse, which is about international support for Ukraine. So obviously we are curious of your perspective. At the same time, we know that that's less relevant in the specific case of your activism than, well, let's say what you do on the ground, what you do on the territory. And then depending on whichever direction you want to go, there's, I guess, a multitude of topics that we would be curious about. One, for example, since the 7th of October, and the coming back on the stage of the topic of the war on Palestine, how the Ukrainian society reacted to that, if that's, again, something that you are interested to talk about. We are also always want to know about, let's say, social struggle, worker rights, etc. But the idea was in this first part of the meeting to give you as much time as you want to tell us whatever you think should be a priority for comrades in other countries to hear from Ukrainian comrades.
Okay. May I start first? I'm sorry if I will be like mumbling and not speaking understandable. I'm quite nervous. I don't. It's not usual for me to speak on such events. Yeah. Firstly, I think I would like to. You presented the Solidarity Collectives, and I would like to add that we have we have several directions in which we work. We have a humanitarian direction, and also we help military. We help our comrades who went to military. We help with equipment and sometimes with weapon. And right now it's our two main directions, and it seems like this will be the same for next year. And we see next year, like 2024, as quite a big of a challenge, because it seems like it will be a year of some changes and preparation for some like military advancements. And right now we started a small sub project of creating small FPV drones for our guys in military. We have few operators who use them, and we started learning and creating them because it seems like this is the way in. This is one of most efficient weapons and tools of resistance available for us right now. Yeah, you've been. You said there is also a topic of international support, and to which I would say that it's true that we have less international support than we had a year ago, and it's on the one part it's understandable. On other part, it's a big challenge, because I think we need to change this trend of decreasing international support. I think that especially like in leftist circles, for me it's not I don't understand why people still don't why people still argue and have some bullshit pacifistic opinions, and it's almost 2 years and we are trying to communicate, and like some things change and some things don't change. This I don't get, but it's a good thing that yeah, we can try. We should try. And also you said that what the question was, what support would we like to have from you?
As well, yes. I mean, this is a topic we always get onto. And more specifically, I was saying what I think the sentence I used was what Ukrainian comrades think Italian comrades, European comrades should know, should hear. So this sort of thing, which is very generic again, because we don't have these many chances to, I mean, obviously now, particularly in our little group, we read comments, we follow the pages of solidarity collectives, etc. We have an idea of the topics, for example, the collection of funds for the FPV projects, the numerous deaths of comrades in war, but again, we rarely directly hear from you. No, so this is just the idea was, tell us anything you think would be good for us to know.
I think it, like, I will tell next few things, but I think you can, like, you agree with me. You already understand this, that we don't have basically we don't have a choice of fight or not to fight, because not to fight, it's to become colonialized. It's to become even more oppressed, and so the choice that we have is the only option that we have is to fight, and like, we need to make decisions. Like, we should pass this point of discussion of to fight or not to fight, to support military or not to support military. I think, like, it should be settled, and if you have, like, questions or opinions about that, we can, like, we need to solve that first, and then we can.
So
yeah.
actually, I connect to that because, first of all, the question you were posing, which is how is it possible that we are still questioning what's the right thing to do when it is so obvious that armed resistance is the only response to an armed aggression, and armed resistance is not armed resistance requires a functional military, requires weapons, requires money, actually, more than everything. That's at least my understanding. Obviously, I'm not. And we have been, in our circle, we have been wondering a lot of why it was so difficult to interact, to engage with a big chunk of the Italian left, and even an Italian left that I don't know how much you know of us, but a big part of what means to be an Italian leftist is the myth of the resistance against Nazi fascism. We had an invader, and it was kicked out with British weapons, with American, more British weapons than American weapons, I guess. And it was kicked out by Italians taking arms, and actually often fighting other Italians, but that's another bit. And so it was particularly jarring when Russian propaganda, I believe in part the effect of Russian propaganda, of a decade or more of unchecked Russian propaganda on the Italian public, was creating pretty much an anti-Ukrainian sentiment that then made a lot of people say, oh, this is one thing, that was another thing, which, even if it doesn't make that much sense. Now, a thing we have been talking about is how to try to affect this. But this is then becomes more a topic of us, Italy, and that's apart from the fact that it's really a clown word in that the kind of public discourse that we have on the topic is almost embarrassing. A thing that there was a sentence that struck me. I can't remember which Ukrainian activist said it, and then I want to remind it then for either you or Dennis tell us more about it. If I remember correctly, the sentence was talking about the political future of Ukraine, about elections. He says the next parliament will be a parliament of people in uniform. And what he meant by that was that right now, military and people engaging with the military are among the other things, putting their lives on the line for the Ukrainian people and for Ukrainian people that know that this is happening. They are acquiring social capital, so to speak, that can then brings them in positions of authority. And this was being said in the perspective of this being an important opportunity, maybe is the wrong word, but it's a space that needs to be occupied, so to speak, by leftist forces. Meaning there's a leftist, from what I had understood from that point, was that leftist forces in Ukraine don't have the privilege that leftist forces in, for example, Italy have of saying war is not a business. Business is a thing. War is a thing for right-wing people. Weapons are a thing for right-wing people. We don't deal with that. Instead, now anarchists, communists joining the fight have the opportunity to show we are here. This space of resistance is our space. It's not a space that we leave to right-wing forces, as from at least an Italian perspective, as traditionally was. So what I wanted to ask you was, to either of you, do you see this? Is this actually happening in Ukrainian society? Is people recognizing anarchists and I use the term communist, maybe that was not ideal, but socialists, or anyway popular social movements, Soціальний RUKH, is being recognized as a force for good, so to speak? Is this political capital being acquired? This is and because to me this is something that should be convincing for Italian leftists. The understanding that these spaces, if they are not taken by you, are left to right-wing forces, to ultra-nationalist forces, etc. Sorry, I was a bit verbose.
So may I maybe start? First of all, I also wanted to say a couple of things about Соціальний RUKH. I learned about the event maybe half an hour ago, so it would be very coherent. But when our organization was created back like 8 or 9 years ago, so the idea was that on this wasteland, that is Eastern European, Central Eastern European political spectrum, where you often have different oligarchic parties, and you have neoliberals or national conservatives or other right-wing forces. Yes, where there is no space for the left in this mainstream. Yes, to establish a political force from below, to bring together people from trade unions, from militant trade unions, people from other progressive social movements, feminists, environmentalists, and so on, and to build this new left party for the working classes, of the working classes that would be both democratic and revolutionary, in the sense that it will challenge the entire capitalistic order. Just for me personally, the term communist is completely okay, because I understand communism as a classless and stateless society that we are actually struggling for. But really, yes, in the this post-Soviet space, Eastern European space, it has been discredited by its affiliation with those like crimes of the Stalinist past. And then it was, of course, utilized by this anti-communist hysteria. So yes, it's like outlawed, yes, to use this label. But ultimately, this is not about labels; it's about the senses. Yeah, so we tried to do our work mostly as an activist organization, mostly participating in social movements, in street protests, in popular campaigns against austerity, against different aspects of neoliberal politics that is espoused by each subsequent Ukrainian government. All of them are ultimately adhering to the same neoliberal dogma that, like, market is above all and it can solve magically everything. But of course, everything, not just for us, but for the entirety of the Ukrainian society, it changed our like way of life and everything we do with the full-scale invasion of the Russian imperialism. Because ultimately, yes, it not just completely like turned down the lives of tens of millions of people here. Yes, making we still have like 5 million people displaced persons in Ukraine, in more safer regions, and even a bigger number, like 6 million refugees abroad. You will see this, yes, data that we have like 10,000 civilian casualties, but this is only the confirmed ones, yes, that are officially recognized by the United Nations. And actually, in many destroyed places in eastern Ukraine, like Mariupol and smaller cities and towns, you don't have like the real scope of the destruction of the deaths. And then you have lots of people who were and are indirect casualties of this war due to this constant shellings, due to the how it affects the healthcare system, how it affects the entire infrastructure. Yes, so you have lots and lots of people who actually also lost at least their health, but in many cases their lives indirectly due to this aggression. And of course, you have casualties on the front line, and just recently, just a couple of days ago, we learned that another like veteran of leftist politics who was active in different movements in the 2000s, our old comrade has died, has fallen on the front. So this is something that affects every Ukrainian community, every Ukrainian family. And ultimately, yes, all the existing organizations, they, in addition to their normal activities, they have to deal with the challenges that are posed by the war. And we, from day zero, from day one of the invasion, we have been involved also, albeit obviously to a lesser extent than Solidarity Collective, that is the primary and the most essential part of the this Ukrainian leftist solidarity effort in this wartime. Yes, but we also were and are engaged in lots of solidarity networks that mostly emerged spontaneously. Yes, that was just another example of self-organization that was actually involving millions of people. And now we have to repeat once and once more that, again, from day one till this dragging war, the core of the Ukrainian resistance is the working class, because both in the ranks of the military you have mostly people, both volunteers and conscripts, who come from either big industrial cities or the countryside, and who are working class people, everyday people. And then you have also all those people behind the front lines, essential workers, who keep the things going, in many cases despite what the authorities are doing. Yes, and like lots of people were amazed by how efficient ultimately the for instance the state run railway was, that it never stopped transporting millions of people to safer places and transporting goods and everything. And you have to thank not their management that did nothing. You have to thank the workers inside it. Yes, and the same goes obviously for the healthcare workers, for the emergency services, and for all other people who are involved in just keeping these things afloat. So but at the same time, we have also challenges that go due to this neoliberal nature of the existing world order, and of our own like ruling class approach. That again, I repeat that it's universal for the entirety of Ukrainian political forces, that they try to keep business as usual. They try not to challenge these foundations of the neoliberal capitalism, and thus they try to rely on this the same free market mantras in the wartime, albeit they like the objective reality and the experience of the previous wars. It's shows that there is what's needed is something different. Yes, you need a wartime economy that would rely heavily on public sector, on planning, on everything. But they still try to do as if like we, like economically liberalize everything, deregulate, and then private investors will create everything from drones to the economic infrastructure. Yes, and it doesn't work, and more people they recognize this. Yes, in the society. So another part of this problem is that almost all of the decisions that were made in the social and economic sectors by the government, by the parliament, they have been putting the burden of the war mostly again on the same working class people who are already on the forefront of the struggle, and less on the business. So this involves all those anti-labor legislation steps that have been pushed through the parliament, and now there is another menace because it re-emerged that they are preparing another neoliberal labor code that has to replace the existing one, and I've for all time I have been in activism, like from mid 2000s. I think we have been constantly combating every government trying to pass this neoliberal labor legislation. Up to this moment, they mostly failed in most cases. But again, they may now still use this pretext of war to do it in a very swift manner. So again, we may need some international solidarity in such questions as well. So as you understood, we do both things that are directly linked to this wartime aid for those people who are on the front and those people who have been affected by the war, who have been displaced and so on. But we also try to raise the voice and to raise the awareness about like the destructive nature of this anti-social, anti-labor steps that are taken by the ruling class of our own country. Yes, and then it comes with how we challenge this general perspective of what's proposed for Ukraine in the sense of reconstruction, both in wartime and hopefully after the war. So it's also what you hear. It's very neoliberal, very business oriented, market oriented. It doesn't care with the plight of labor, with the plight of women, with the environment, and so on. So again, we try to formulate and to do campaigning inside Ukraine and outside Ukraine for things like the cancellation of Ukrainian foreign debt. Without it, again, the country will be damned to another vicious circle of debt, like so many countries throughout the world. And we try to link this with the struggles that are waged by other peoples in other parts of the world. And here comes, yes, this complicated part that now, as I mentioned, what made Ukraine withstand the invasion was the contribution of the millions of people. But in order to keep the things going, yes, Ukraine needs both this financial and material aid and military aid. And now there are these changes in the global conjuncture that affect Ukraine in a very bad way, yes, because in most cases, yes, the far-right forces, they are also quite anti-Ukrainian throughout the world. Yes, they admire Putin's system, as they see it's a conservative, authoritarian, at least to say, yes, regime that they would like to model in their countries. And they also share his worldview that smaller nations, smaller peoples, they have no agency, they have no subjectivity. They aren't allowed to decide for themselves. They have to be the big guys in charge. Yes, so they share this. It may say some grand nationalism of these big nations. Yes, but from what I understand, the Italian situation is a different one. Yes, because usually you have like the far right that is anti-Ukrainian. Now, after the current like escalation in the Middle East, they try to divert the aid for Ukraine and to send it to their best pals, Netanyahu's government in Israel. Yes, but in Italy, from what I understand, yes, you have Meloni, who is a neo-fascist, and who also used to be an admirer of Putin, and who said like the grab of Crimea is nice. Yes, but now she is aligned with this more mainstream Western discourse. And then you have like this general leftist milieu. And I also understand where comes all this skepticism towards like never to be on the same side with the West. Yes, due to all the history, to NATO, Gladio, and everything. Yes, but at the same time, yes, we at least thought that like as Italy had this own tradition that involved even inside the Communist Party, it was the first one that broke from the Soviet Union, and then you had also your own tradition of the New Left that wasn't also the way of campist thinking. But now it seems that still you have in this most leftist discussions there, it's something that it's quite prone to Russian propaganda. It's quite whitewashing what's espoused by the Kremlin. And I would like to learn more about whether it's really so, because sometimes I have some pieces of information. Yes, not long ago I learned that this famous physicist Carlo Rovelli, I knew he had radical activism in the past, and that now he is one of these ultra pacifist guys, not to aid Ukraine. So this is of course challenging, because what we have now in the world, we have lots of points of tension. Yes, you have lots of it's not just Palestine, you have Yemen, you have Sudan, Ethiopia, lots of actually conflicts. Yes, and the attention like to Ukraine, it's diminishing. Yes, and again, people like Trump and the Republican parties, they would like to ditch Ukraine. Yes, and instead to support Israel with its colonist project. Yes, you also mentioned this question about how it was perceived in Ukraine, and I also have this the October 7 events and what happened after. I have also this impression that maybe in abroad, people imagine that Ukrainians are really somehow super pro-Israeli, and they so stand with everything that Israel does. But ultimately, this is not the full picture, because for the majority of the people, it's not. They don't have the time and resource to really dive into this situation. And yes, in the mainstream media, you would mostly hear uncritical voices pro-Israeli. Yes, but it isn't such a big subject. Yes, for the general society, general population. So ultimately, yes, there was this letter of solidarity with the struggle of Palestinian people, and there was finally we published we prepared it long ago, but published only recently in Social Movement, our own stance on everything. Yes, that we condemn Israel's government and Israel's actions that led to humanitarian disaster and to genocidal activities against the population of Gaza. But we also have no delusions about the nature of, for instance, Hamas. Yes, and as a reactionary organization. Yes, and again, what's so astonishing that sometimes you can see all these complexities, and you are still on the side of those who are oppressed, who are structurally oppressed, who are attacked by this big war machine, who are attacked by some imperial or hegemonistic power. Yes, and you understand that you need to be in solidarity with them, despite the fact that they may have some like not very nice forces inside there. Yes, but at the same time, the presence of the far right in Ukraine is often used as this ultimate, yes, pretext for the people on the left to say Ukraine is entirely fascist, and we don't want to have everything with those people. Or I suppose all 30-40 million of them are the same fascist ones. And here it comes to how it's actually also backfiring. Yes, because for instance now, and now I finally address the question that you formulated. because I think that in this Ukrainian resistance to the invasion, you have inside Ukraine almost all the communities are participating, almost all the stratas, maybe to a different extent, but yes, and ultimately all of them, they also try to make their contribution visible. Yes, so we have the examples of, for instance, those communities who have been historically very marginalized, oppressed, or excluded from the peoples of Crimea, like Crimean Tatars, to the Roma people. Yes, and now there were reports in the media that actually showed how actually disproportionately big their contribution is, yes, to this common struggle. Yes, and this may be used for by these communities to ultimately empower them against the status quo and to improve their situation, to overcome the this centuries-long discrimination, for instance. Yes, but the same goes also for the whole the political spectrum. So you have representatives of everything almost, yes, in the army and in different forms of solidarity efforts. And this actually angers the far right, because it ultimately shows that they have no monopoly because they used, obviously, since the annexation of Crimea and the war in Donbass, we had the situation when the far right used the war as a justification for their existence. Yes, they were minuscule in terms of popular support. Yes, the general population, it never supported such forces. But at the same time, they could say, we are so patriotic, we are on the forefront, and we do everything, because actually, yes, these are people obsessed with the war, so you expect them to be there. But now they are, again, a very, very small part in a very big and very diverse this continuum of the people of Ukraine who are involved in everything. So when they see that their ideological opponents are also present and they are also visible, they go mad. And just recently, another example where we also need this international solidarity. So there is this anarchist artist, David Chichkan, who is presently creating galleries. He's drawing the portraits of people on the left, anarchists, Marxists, feminists, trade unionists, who have joined the armed forces. Yes, and he has done a number of exhibitions in different cities. And when it was set to be opened in the city of Odessa, then one of the ultra-conservative neo-fascist, these neo-fascist hipsters, actually also very small group, but very loud one. Yes, so they started threatening the museums, that they will set them on fire and everything. And ultimately, this exhibition was cancelled. And this far right, they try to gatekeep, yes, their their monopoly, that we are somehow have the monopoly to speak for the fighting Ukrainian people. You cannot say that you have lots of others, you have lots of also revolutionary leftists there. So then for instance, yes, when we also show this international solidarity, that again we genuinely found enormous. We met not just all this campist stuff. Yes, we also met enormous support from different activists, from different initiatives from throughout the globe, and it's quite inspiring. And yes, we can show that we have this solidarity from leftists throughout the world. But then this different types of right-wing guys, they will say, but then you have this and this leftists in the world who are so anti-Ukrainian, they are so pro-Russian. Thus, everything is all leftists are Kremlin's puppets and so on. So this is a very complex situation where we need to operate, and I hope that by such conversations we may learn more about how we can improve our place in it.